You may be an iPhone lover, but have you ever wondered how the sleek iPhone in your pocket goes from an idea to a real device? Apple's manufacturing process is kept very secret, but we often hear about the huge factories in China. In this video, we'll take a closer look at these high-tech production centers and discover the detailed process that brings your favorite devices to life. So, let's see what's inside Apple's insane factories in China. Apple began leveraging China for manufacturing in the early 2000s, primarily due to the country's cost-effective labor force and manufacturing capabilities. This move was spearheaded by Tim Cook, who was then Apple's chief operating officer. Apple was slow to establish its brand in mainland China. Initially, products were manufactured in China but sold through the Hong Kong U-turn method. Products like the iPod were manufactured in southern China with a workaround involving shipping to Hong Kong and back to comply with Chinese regulations. Apple partnered with Foxconn Hon-Hai Precision Industry Company Limited, a major Taiwanese electronics contract manufacturer with extensive operations in China. This partnership allowed Apple to scale up production significantly. The first Apple store in mainland China opened in Beijing in July 2008. Apple began officially selling the iPhone in China in late 2009 through China Unicom. One of the largest and most famous of these factories is the Foxconn City in Zhengzhou, often dubbed iPhone City. Over the years, Apple has expanded its manufacturing base to include other suppliers like Pegatron and Wistron. This diversification helps mitigate risks and ensure a more stable supply chain. Apple's operations have had a significant impact on the Chinese economy, providing millions of jobs and contributing to the development of infrastructure in various regions. China is not only a manufacturing hub for Apple, but also a crucial market. Apple earns a substantial portion of its revenue from the Chinese market, further solidifying the importance of its partnership with China. Zhengzhou, with a population of about 9.5 million people, is the center for roughly half of the world's iPhone production. The factory is run by Foxconn, a Taiwanese electronics manufacturer, and employs around 350,000 people. The factory produces approximately 500,000 iPhones per day, which equates to about 350 iPhones per minute during peak times. The production involves around 400 separate phases, with tasks such as cleaning screens, soldering components, and inserting screws. The factory area, including dormitories and shops, has developed into a self-contained city. Workers live in a 10 to 12-story dormitory, and many entrepreneurs and vendors operate in this vicinity, selling various goods and services. The manufacturing process of Apple products in China, particularly the iPhone, involves a complex and highly coordinated series of steps. Apple sources components from around the world, including semiconductors, sensors, displays, and batteries. Major suppliers include companies from the US, Japan, South Korea, and other countries. Components are delivered to the factories on a just-in-time basis to minimize storage costs and ensure a steady flow of materials. Foxconn's factories are organized into various assembly lines, each dedicated to specific tasks in the manufacturing process. Employees receive specialized training for their roles, focusing on efficiency and precision to meet Apple's high standards. The process starts with assembling the printed circuit boards, or PCBs. Components are soldered onto the boards using automated equipment. Key components like the processor, memory, and sensors are installed on the PCB. This is often done using surface-mounted technology, or SMT, machines. The iPhone's frame is prepared and the PCB are mounted inside. This stage also includes the installation of other major components like the battery, display, and camera modules. At each stage, quality checks are performed to ensure that the components are correctly installed and functioning. Automated optical inspection, or AOI, systems are often used. The display assembly is one of the last major components to be installed. This includes bonding the display to the touchscreen and integrating the front-facing camera. The operating system, or iOS, is installed on the devices. This step includes initial testing to ensure that the software runs correctly on the hardware. Each iPhone undergoes a series of tests to verify its functionality. This includes checking the touchscreen, cameras, connectivity, and sensors. Once all components are verified and assembled, the iPhone is moved to the FATP area. Here, the final product is tested again for functionality. Accessories such as chargers, earphones, and documentation are packed with the iPhone. Foxconn is China's largest private employer with 1.3 million employees. The company has faced criticism for labor violations, poor working conditions, and harsh punishment for mistakes. A series of suicides in 2010 and 2011 led to some improvements in working conditions. The Chinese government provides substantial support to Foxconn, including tax breaks, subsidies, new infrastructure, and financial incentives. The local government also ensures a steady labor supply by setting quotas for villages and cities to send workers to the factory. Workers typically start their day at 6:30 a.m., work from 8 a.m., and often stay for overtime until 8 or 10 p.m. Starting pay is around $298 per month, with the potential to earn up to $676 with overtime. Despite the low wages, the government does not deduct payroll taxes due to the low income levels. People perform repetitive tasks on assembly lines. For instance, some employees are tasked with polishing iPhone screens or soldering components, each handling hundreds to thousands of units per day. Despite the monotonous nature of the work, these jobs are highly sought after due to the economic opportunities they provide in a region where such prospects are scarce. The living conditions for Foxconn workers have often been criticized. During the COVID-19 pandemic, these issues were exacerbated by strict lockdown measures. Workers were confined to the factory compound, leading to deteriorating sanitary conditions and inadequate food supply. Videos and reports of workers fleeing the factory amid these harsh conditions highlighted the severe impact of the lockdown. Foxconn's labor practices have also faced repeated criticism for violating Chinese labor laws. This includes the employment of substantial numbers of dispatch workers who lack job security and are denied proper contracts and benefits. Investigations have also uncovered issues such as insufficient safety training, lack of protective equipment, and illegal wage deductions at other Apple supplier factories like Pegatron. In response to these issues, Apple has pledged to improve conditions for workers in its supply chain. Due to rising labor costs and to improve efficiency, Apple and its partners have increasingly incorporated automation and robotics into the manufacturing process. Apple is increasingly depending on its ties with China, even as it simultaneously expanded its production in Southeast Asia and India. This strategic balancing act highlights the company's effort to navigate the complex intersection of politics and business. In 2023, Apple increased its number of China-headquartered suppliers from 48 to 52 and expanded its manufacturing and development facilities in China by 10 to 286. These moves underscore the enduring importance of Chinese suppliers in Apple's supply chain, a dominance that has been in place since 2020. In parallel with its Chinese engagements, Apple is accelerating its supply chain shift to Southeast Asia. The number of suppliers operating in Vietnam surged by 40% to 35, and those in Thailand grew by about a third to 24. India, while remaining a crucial market, saw its supplier count stay at 14, with notable new entries like the Tata Group. This expansion into Southeast Asia and India does not, however, reduce Apple's reliance on China. The geopolitical landscape presents a significant challenge for Apple. The ongoing US-China tech war complicates its operations. Yet, China remains a vital market, contributing 17% of Apple's total revenue in the December quarter. Tim Cook has been actively engaging with Chinese officials and suppliers, reaffirming the critical role China plays in Apple's global strategy. Competitive pressures in the Chinese market are intensifying, particularly from Huawei, which has made a strong comeback with its new flagship smartphones. This resurgence is putting pressure on Apple, whose shipments in China dropped by 19.1% in the first quarter of 2024, while Huawei increased by 69.7%. Globally, Apple shipments fell nearly 10%, reflecting broader market challenges. So there you have it, a glimpse inside the incredible factories that churn out the Apple devices we all know and love. We hope you liked this video. Tell us in the comments which iPhone product is your favorite. But don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell to stay updated on more behind-the-scenes looks at technology manufacturing.